Let's dive right into today's explainer, looking at an absolutely incredible story from February 15th, 2012. It's the kind of thing that almost borders on fate. We're looking at a routine training dive at Florida's Merritt's Mill Pond that turned into an impossible test of survival. On one side, you have trapped students, and on the other, a master rescuer who just happened to be standing right there on the shore. We're going to break down the mechanics of one of the most astonishing underwater cave rescues ever recorded, step by step.
But first, to really understand the stakes here, you have to imagine plunging into an environment where your vision is instantly wiped out, reduced to absolute zero. And I don't mean it's just kind of dim. I'm talking about a suffocating, pitch-black darkness where you literally can't see the gauge on your wrist, you can't see the buddy right next to you, and you definitely can't see the solid rock ceiling inches from your head. That zero-visibility environment is the ticking clock for this entire situation.
Section 1. The Cave Diving Trap.
So this all starts in the deceptively calm waters of Merritt's Mill Pond, which is actually a maze of incredibly narrow, solid rock passages. Now, the students on this dive were wearing standard double back-mounted tanks. This gives you a really wide, back-heavy profile that sticks out past your shoulders. It's totally fine for open water, right? But cave divers actually prefer a narrow, side-mounted setup for a very good reason. When these students tried to squeeze through a tight restriction, that bulky back-mounted gear wedged them completely against the stone walls. Just like that, their equipment became a deadly trap.
Section 2. Panic and Zero Visibility.
Okay, so they're stuck. They can't move forward, they can't move backward. And naturally, panic sets in immediately. Their frantic struggling triggered this terrifying chain reaction. They kicked up all the fine sediment resting on the cave floor, creating what's known as a silt-out. A silt-out instantly drops visibility to absolute zero. It's basically an underwater blizzard of mud. This completely blinded the instructor leading the dive, meaning an immediate rescue was totally impossible because he literally couldn't even see his students to free them.
Section 3. Preparing for the rescue.
Realizing he couldn't do a thing in that dense cloud of sediment, the instructor made a really difficult but ultimately life-saving choice. He surfaced. He burst out of the water, yelling for help, and by pure chance, caught the attention of Ed Sorensen. Ed is one of Florida's top cave rescuers, and he was just standing right there in street clothes. But here's the crucial part. Even with the clock ticking, Ed perfectly understood the psychology of a rescue. He relied entirely on muscle memory to gear up flawlessly. Rushing causes equipment failures, and a panicked rescuer, well, that just adds another person to the casualty list. Ed stayed absolutely hyper-focused, even knowing the trapped divers were rapidly burning through their air.
Section 4. Searching in the Dark.
Within minutes, Ed goes down into that exact same pitch-black silt-out that forced the instructor out. And I really want you to ask yourself, how do you navigate a maze when you can't even see the hand in front of your face? How on earth do you find two terrified, trapped people when your primary sense is completely useless?
Well, for 15 agonizing minutes, Ed worked in total darkness. Think about how long 15 minutes feels when you're just, waiting for a cup of coffee to brew. Now put yourself underwater under immense psychological pressure, knowing these panicked students are sucking down their limited air supply. It's a crushing amount of stress that would honestly break most people.
Let's break down exactly what Ed did to locate them, because his expertise in zero visibility is just phenomenal. Step 1. Tactile navigation. He systematically felt his way through the cave, relying entirely on touch and his deep memory of the cave's layout. Step 2. Systematic search patterns. He didn't just guess, he methodically covered the exact spots where students were most likely to get wedged. And then Step 3, the real game changer, interpreting audio cues. Through all that darkness, his highly experienced ears picked up the subtle, muffled sounds of the trapped divers struggling against the rock. Following those sounds is what finally led him to the first student.
Section 5. The extraction strategy.
So finding them by sound was a massive breakthrough, obviously. But he couldn't just yank them out, or he could severely damage their life support gear or cause fatal injuries. Ed had to pull off this incredible juggling act in the absolute dark. Patiently, he untangled the first student, moved him over to a safe zone, and gave strict instructions to just stay put. Then, unbelievably, Ed had to start his entire blind tactile search over again to find and free the second student. Only after both of them were carefully dislodged could he begin the final extraction to the surface.
And finally, Section 6. Lessons from the Deep.
Guiding two traumatized divers back through a complex, zero-visibility cave is a feat of unmatched skill. And yes, both students made it out alive.
Their miraculous survival really boils down to three things. First, an instructor brave enough to surface for help instead of causing a multi-fatality disaster. Second, Ed Sorensen's unparalleled calmness and his mastery of those blind search techniques we just walked through. And third, the stark reality of gear configuration. Taking wide, open water tanks into a tight cave was the root cause of this whole thing. Proper equipment in that environment is quite literally a matter of life and death.
It leaves us with a chilling final question about the razor-thin margin for error in the deep. In the darkest, tightest spaces on Earth, is your gear your lifeline or is it your trap? What works perfectly in one place can become a deadly liability in another. I really encourage you to think about how preparation, knowledge, and above all, remaining calm define survival in extreme environments. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning what lies beneath the surface.